Today's guest is Jill Avery, who is an empowerment educator and an igniter for teens, young adults, and families. In the last 30 years, she's created multiple award-winning empowerment businesses dedicated to empower others as they lean into their lives facing forward. The cornerstone of Jill's success is her innate ability to illuminate new paths, possibility, and fresh perspectives for others. Jill holds a master's in communications, and Jill's also a mom of two young adults, a certified hypnotherapist, Reiki instructor, Ironman, and an animal advocate. So, Jill, thank you very much for being here. How are you doing today?
Thanks so much for having me. I'm very excited.
I'm very excited to have you here, especially since you came in here like before we got onto the call. Very good as like, yeah, I want to kind of do something outside of my comfort zone, get clear on certain things. So I'm like, you're in the right place. I'm excited to dive into this with you. And to start us off with that, why don't you just give us a little bit of background and context on like what your business is, how you got to doing it. Floor is yours for that.
Okay, well, great. Well, thanks for having me again. And, I'm just an empowerment person. I have been that way all of my life. It's like a natural thing. And I think when you find kind of your innate gifts and strengths, who you are and what you do really should be in alignment. So I feel really lucky because I just love tapping people's potential, cracking it wide open, and getting them to actually dig in themselves, right? Because, people always go, what's my purpose in life? It's like your purpose on purpose is you, right? Is really understanding what your values are, how you define yourself, and how you evolve through all the different stages of life. But I really try to empower people with their own self-competence. And I've been doing it for 30 years as a profession, but even before that, that's just kind of what I came into this world to do. But I'm super excited to talk about the things that you do. So because I was watching your videos and you have a natural empowering energy. So I'm really excited to be here, Dresco.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much. So yeah, I mean, we can get right into it in that
Get
case,
right in.
if that's what is
Let's
resonating
do
with you
it.
in the moment. So then I'd love to know, like, empowering people. Like, I think that's something that naturally comes off when you speak about it. Like, you see your light, like your eyes light up and all of that. So I totally get it as far as just kind of being here with you. So then what I'm curious about is like, what then is your business? Like, is it the coaching and like that's what you coach around, or is it something else?
Yeah, it's a really good question because I'm really learning that, when you start a business, you kind of go in with this intention of what you see it, you want it to be. But then the beauty of it is that you kind of end up doing what you're called to do and where you're needed. So I have always been about empowerment. Doesn't matter what the age. I kind of started with toddlers when my kids were young. I have now young adult children, and then I did with executives and companies, and then I did kind of a mismatch. But a few years back, pre-COVID, I just noticed when my kids were graduating from high school and getting on to their life, just the ecosystem of our youth, and realized I started kind of diving deep in and noticing the anxiety was an epidemic, and the depression and self-harm and suicide in the between the ages of 10 to 24. It was the second leading cause of suicide, and it really troubled me. And I thought, what is going on? We have, I mean, technology is a huge piece, but we have so many things at our disposal and so many resources. What's happening? So I decided to kind of take the lens and target it on teens and young adults because they are our future. And I love working with the younger minds, and I also love working with parents, because if the parents aren't supportive or aren't on board, I mean, it's a family affair. There's not going to be a lot of movement forward. It's going to be divided. So that's why my goal is the teens and the young adults, but I love partnering with the parents to make sure that they shepherd and they turn their management skills into being more of an influence in their children's lives. So this is not a summer to get, good relationship with your children. This is an ongoing lifetime. Let's evolve and adapt as we morph together, right? So that's kind of how it all just kind of went from empowerment to like down to we are in the age of technology. We're in the age of distraction. We're in the age of stress-related disorders. COVID knocked blew us out of the water and exposed it even more so. But we had a huge problem before COVID. So I'm just really glad that I'm here where I am. And I think COVID, the silver lining is it allowed me to go a little bit deeper and to provide my online coaching course and things that are online so people all over the world can have access to. So, so that's kind of my little story in a nutshell.
Got it. So then just make sure that I've heard you correctly. Like it sounds like there's kind of like two components to your business overall, right? Like that there's the kind of my purpose component, which is obviously, the empowerment and doing this type of work. And then there's the business component, which seems like right now is mostly geared around the parents of the youth that you need to help, because ultimately I think like it's the parents that pay the bill. So just want to make sure, like, is that correct?
Yes, I think that it's right now my focus and target is on the youth and the young adults, but my way to that is to be sure that the parents understand how to help them, how to raise young adults into a thriving life versus raising kids, and to really partner with the parents. But I do on my own, like in person, I meet with kids and do empowerment coaching every day. I do that. But my online course is for really, it's a lifetime thing that parents can, instead of therapy, I'm a huge advocate for therapy, but mine is a more action-packed course of here's a plan and here's what you can do for the rest of your life to build these healthy relationships. So I have my online stuff so I can help people. And then I have my everyday life here where I work face-to-face with families. But it always starts, I don't care if you're 15 or if you're 95, I always take a look at you first, because what are you contributing, what are you contaminating, and that's just true for all of us. But that's a starting point. So it is about you. You got to change you before you can change anything else. So that's where we start.
Absolutely. Yeah, love it. I agree with that sentiment completely. And both of these are paid, right? Like the course is something that people buy, and then your in-person things
Yes,
is also paid. Okay,
yes,
got it.
absolutely. Yeah.
Perfect. So then what is it as far as like business challenges that you are running into right now?
I think that I probably will speak for a lot of people, because I think it's where I'm learning. I can emball into things. I don't get mired in the details of things. I think if you do that, you're not going to do a lot of things in life. If you kind of do the analysis paralysis and think, oh God, I just kind of go with what I want to do and do it. But what happens with that is, you're learning as you're going, and it's not an easy feat having an online course, because I kind of when I talk to my friends about it, because they love what I do and they know that I'm so driven to make a positive impact and to contribute. But they all, they keep checking in, like, how's it going? And I'm like, I gotta find my peeps. I gotta find the people that are really, I call it the desire and discipline. I can't have procrastinators, like, right? Like, I'm looking in the in this huge, vast sea, and this is my issue. I'm trying to find my school of fish, right? That comes out at a certain time of day, that has to eat a certain kind of diet. I'm looking for that, so I can kind of bait them, so I can bring them to what they're looking for. But I got to find them in this sea of so many different options and choices, and and that's where it's really tough, because right now I've been getting a lot of people, but they're the wrong audience. A lot of them are single parents who my course would be great for them, but I don't want them spending their resources on me. They need to spend their resources on, they're trying to win custody battles. They're trying to put food on the table. They're not there yet with my program of, you're with me for 4 months. I mean, you do online stuff, but then I'm with you twice a month doing live coaching. So it's a journey, it's a relationship. And so I'm not finding the right people yet. I know that they're there, because I deal with them in person, and when I do get them, they're not I have to kind of throw the fish back right? I'm not going to do a hard sell and say, oh yes, this will be perfect for you at this time. No, timing, I could not do that. So that's where I'm stuck is how do I, I have this beautiful, impactful, life transforming program that really will help. But how do I find those people without, spending so much time and energy and effort and money, just trying this and trying that, and because I'm not an expert, I'm an expert. I'm like an expert. I love talking and I love empowering. I don't want to be an SEO expert. I don't want to, I don't want to do the sales and marketing and do all of the back end stuff. I want to help people. So that's where my struggle is I'm a one woman show. I think I need a small team to help me, but I don't know how to get there. I don't know how to, I can't seem to find the right team to help me, and I can't seem to find my people yet. Does that make
Got it.
sense?
Okay, so yeah, there's a lot of stuff there. I just want to like break it down into usable bits and pieces, but I
Yeah.
appreciate you sharing like, what is present. So if you had to sum up your problem, then as far as like a business problem or problems succinctly, right? Like what might they actually be
Um,
in
I would
your
s-
words?
I would say the thing I struggle with most is trying to do everything I need to do on my own. Like there's so much to do to get a successful online course out there. And no one wants to launch and look like an amateur of, and I'm trying to get educated as quickly as possible to get my course out there in the right place. But my struggle is doing it on my own. Like how do I branch out, or how do I get the help that I need? So it's kind of like the Jerry Maguire, let me, help me help you kind of thing, is really trying to get this treasure chest of things that I think could really contribute to the fabric of our family's foundation. How do I get it out there without, I almost feel like, there are days where I just like, it's just too much. And what a waste to not contribute what I think is such a meaningful, it's like my life legacy. It's like my heart's work. So, and I'm very tenacious. So this is really tough. This is really tough to have all of these things in place, Drasco, but to not be able to find those people that are really looking. And I don't know. I think that's the struggle for me, is having a great book, but it's on the shelf, right?
Got it. So how much time have you spent honing your actual craft? Like coaching and knowing all of the things and being able to, read between people's lines of like what they say. Like how much time do you think you've spent doing like your deliverable, like a thing you are really good and passionate at? How much time do you think you've invested in honing that craft?
Oh gosh. To be really honest, I would say, almost 30 years of it's all kind of this culmination, right? It's accumulated. Everything that I've done in the last 30 years has been about empowerment and learning from others and working with people. And I've been able to take all of that life experience and education and professional experience and turn it into these beautiful nuggets of wisdom, of help. So I would say 30 years of really tapping into it. And I would say the last maybe 6 years of really content, really putting it all together to kind of make it a package of like taking it all, of a serious 6 years of just sticking with it.
And when you say sticking with it, meaning to create the course that you've created
Yes. Yeah, it's kind
right
of
now.
morphed, right? It's kind of it's morphed into like, wow, we have
Okay.
a big thing in our hands with our youth. Yes.
And actually practicing the speaking with somebody. So like coaching sessions and you're there
Oh,
and
absolutely.
you're observing them, like how many hours in total do you think you've spent learning all of that?
You mean how many hours with my actual clients?
Like across your whole career, yes. How many hours do you think, if you had to guess, you've spent
Wow.
really honing your coaching craft of
Oh
working
my
with
God.
clients, and then the stuff that happens behind the scenes, like maybe I'll read a book on a modality about like how do I handle this type of
Yeah.
situation, this comes up, how do I, like how many hours do you think you've spent doing
Oh
that?
my gosh. I'm first of all, I'm not a numbers gal, so you got me
So
there.
just give me a rough ballpark figure.
Oh my gosh, thousands of hours because I'm
Okay, so
constantly.
I'm just gonna, so 3 decades and thousands of hours getting like sharpening your saw, like getting
Oh
really,
yeah.
really good at what you
Yes.
do.
Yeah. I mean, it
Great.
just, yes, because I take courses. I mean, I'm always learning. Like we're never done. So even though I'm coaching and I have all my clients, I'm still constantly taking courses on how to improve my communication skills and my learning more about intuition, right? Like I love learning. So it's
Beautiful. So
always
I'm just gonna
simultaneous.
pause you right. Like it's palpable how seriously you take your craft. I don't think anybody can deny that piece,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Why I'm asking you these questions is if you spend 3 decades and thousands of hours honing your craft, getting really good at what you do, how many hours have you spent getting really good at communicating that in a way that's going to matter to the people that need you?
It's very good. That's a very, yeah, way to rip that lid off. Yeah. No, it's true. It's absolutely true. Yeah,
So
I wouldn't say that many hours. I would say out of out of really the focus time that I've put this course together and realized what I needed to do, I would say it's 95% trying to get it ready in the content and probably 5% of knowing how, trying to find the people, right? It's
right.
true. Trying
So
to, yeah.
just pausing right there. I've spent 95% sharpening the saw, 5% doing the work to, let's just say, in that analogy, find the right tree to cut. Are
Yeah.
your results or lack of results really that surprising
Yeah, no.
in this one area of the communication and the people and, like you said, your school of fish? Like, is it really surprising given the disproportionate use of your time?
No. Didn't really think about it that way. So, wow. Yeah, no. No. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, my
So,
gosh, how long we've been talking? A few minutes and just
yep.
okay, Jessica. Yeah, you're okay. Yeah, that's very good. No, that's
So
yeah.
I think the question now is,
Mm,
if you flip it, so you spend 95% fumbling, not so, okay, actually, let me take that back. If you go back to the beginning of your career and you compare yourself 30 years ago versus yourself right now, is there a major difference in your ability, confidence, and competence to do what you do?
oh yeah, huge change.
Okay, perfect.
Change.
So I would hope after 30 years, that would be the answer, right? Like, yeah,
Right?
30 years
Yeah.
of doing something, I'm a lot better now than it was when I started.
Oh my
Okay,
God.
great.
Yes.
Now, in terms of building the skill set of communication, mattering to the people that need you, sales, marketing, you are where you were 30 years ago in your coaching skill set. Okay. It's going to look a lot different now with a lot more fumbling, with a lot more trial and error, with a lot more like, well, that didn't work, with a lot more quote unquote failure than it is in the next, forget 30 years, and like in the next 5 years. Right.
Yeah.
So if you flipped your use of time, instead of 5% I'm doing this and 95% I'm sharpening my axe, 95% I now spend communicating with it, getting better with it, etc. How do you feel when you consider that?
Yeah, I immediately, well, the light bulb just like went off, right? It's kind of like, oh, and I feel a little bit lighter of because I kind of feel like it's been a nebulous, I'm kind of like this I keep going back to the sea analogy, but I kind of feel like this untethered buoy out there, right? Like I just feel a little bit, um, I'm super humbled, trying to find the people, but I feel like I'm spinning my wheels, or I'm kind of just floating out there. Or I don't know. This helps me really reframe my focus, because what I call in my program, put your best foot forward. Foot stands for focus on one thing. That's I think what you just reminded me is like I have to actually do what I teach. And sometimes I get so
Yep.
excited about teaching it that I have to come back to my own basic skill sets that I'm trying to teach. So, uh,
Perfect. So in that vein, going with your own acronym of FOOT, focus on one thing, right?
mhm.
If you look at your schedule for the coming week, because we're recording this on a Monday, so if you look at your schedule for the coming week, is there one main focus related to the thing you need most right now, which is marketing and sales?
Yes, there are quite a few. I mean, that's how I found you, actually,
Okay,
is
great.
is
And
I
so I'm going to pause you right there. So how many, and you can give me like a approximate number, but like how many hours do you work on your business every week?
I would say 12 hours a day, probably.
Okay. So let's just keep the math really simple and say 10 hours a day across
Yeah.
the week.
Yeah.
But I would say 5 days a week. Let's ignore weekends. 50 hours a week.
Yeah.
Are
At least.
95% of those 50 hours dedicated to learning the new craft of marketing and sales in a way that feels authentic to you?
No. No.
Okay.
No.
So, given that you were able to invest 30 years and thousands of hours into crafting you into the expert that you are in when it comes to empowerment, is that same level of dedication reflected in getting the skills you need at the stage of business that you are in right now to actually help the people with the skills that you've honed over the last 3 decades?
I'm gonna have to make that happen. I'm gonna have to refocus that, because you've stumbled upon a big, and maybe instead of it a boulder in my way, maybe it's just a little pebble in my shoe, that I've spent so much time trying to be sure that my content and that my availability and that everything is just right, so people have a great experience. It's not just a course, but it's really an experience to get them to cultivate these new habits. But you're right. I think I avoid that because I don't know exactly how to get there. You know what I'm saying?
Okay,
Like
so I don't know how to exactly to get where.
I don't know exactly how to figure out how to do the sales and marketing piece. And that sounds hysterical, because I worked at Apple in the marketing department for almost 10 years of my life, but it's a very different thing. This is so intimate, and
Yeah, so pause right there.
yeah,
It's very common with people that switch from corporate to
yeah,
self-employment. When you worked at Apple, you sold Apple. You sold the product. The value of the product was determined by this whole massive system that is Apple. So you just
yeah,
had to get really good at selling the value of the product.
yeah.
Now, who gets to determine the value of your own work?
So true. Me. Yeah,
You.
yeah,
Before anybody, like anybody is only going to value your thing one step below you at maximum. Like
yes.
you're not going to get somebody being like your product is worth more than what you are saying it's worth. Like if
That's
you're
right.
like it's $100, I'm gonna be like, no, you know what, it's 200. I'll
Yeah,
be like, well, maybe I can get it for 80, right? Like
yeah,
generally, you're gonna negotiate down 99.9% of the way of the time.
yeah.
So the question then really now becomes, by what you've illustrated today, is why did it have to be so perfect to spend 6 years on? Right? Because You can go down the perfectionism route there. And now that you're selling yourself, so far your actions indicate that you're not really comfortable with owning the value that you provide, despite the fact that you have 3 decades of experience doing this type of stuff. So what lands for you there?
God, Drasco. Yeah, you know, that is something, I'm gonna have to process that because you've obviously struck something in me that, I haven't quite looked at. And I haven't yeah, like, am I afraid of rejection? Am I afraid that, it's not it's not as good as I think it is? Because it really is I'm the product, you know, I'm the one that's taking you with me to help, you know, you blaze your own trail in greatness, right? And yeah, wow, that's really good.
And just using your words here, if I am the product, so your product is you right now,
Mhm.
right? The
Yeah,
immediate thing your brain went to is the product good enough,
yeah.
right? I.e., I had to spend 6 years distilling 30 years to make sure it's absolutely perfect with a very small sample size of people that have actually taken it, because I'm out there hiding under this very elaborate and smart rationale if I got to make the product perfect, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So
Wow.
is this really about the product, or is it about the doubt that comes from, am I actually good enough to do this?
Yeah, it's a funny thing. It's a really funny I feel like I'm straddling this really weird world of when you say that, because I say this with complete sincerity and humility that I know that I'm really natural and good at what I do, right? Like I love what I do, and I love that people they don't thank me of like that was great. Their lives show it. You know, they're taking what they've learned and they get all the credit. Yes, I get to say that they took my program, but I can see that they're doing it, and I know that it's my heart's work. I know that I'm very good and that I am special at it. And but the other piece that you did is that I think and I feel like I really have a lot of self-confidence in it because it's just kind of who I am. But yeah, like there must be some self-doubt about w- where yeah, I mean I oh that is a really big one. Because I really think of myself as being fearless and I will try almost and do anything, put myself out there. I have no fear of that. But you know what? Obviously, there's something holding me back.
Yes, I would agree with you. And great observation, great tuning into like,
Mm,
and like even just from the outside looking in, like it was great to see you process your own realization in real time, right? So I just want to acknowledge you for that.
yeah.
Um, the
Mm,
nuance that I would add to this, because you mentioned, okay, well, I am confident. I've seen the things, right? Like I know I'm good at this. The nuance that I would add to this, and that potentially could add a bit more awareness here, is you're not lacking confidence in front of the people that need you, or when the person is right in front of you, right?
mm,
Because that is really a confidence that's only gotten through competence. You have 30 years of repetitive competence to know that you present this to me, I know what I need to do. So the person's
yes.
in front of me, I know what I need to do. That's a competence confidence. What you are now beginning to explore, because you never had to explore it before, are all of these self doubts that come from grandness, right? Because your actions so far would suggest that there's a part of you that felt safer in hiding. And hiding, I don't mean like in a closet where nobody can see you. I just meant in terms of like really shining big, going out there, being bold, where when I shine a light, it's going to attract, a lot of BS with it as well, especially online. So to me, this is more about the doubt, the fear, and the concerns that come from visibility, that come from success, and that come from the deservingness of your own self-worth to experience that public expansion. And that so far has been stopping you from going out there and developing the competence to actually go and do that. Because the visibility thing is a skill. Like, how do I market and sell? Many people have figured that out. That's a skill.
Yes.
But the inner friction right now is visibility, the self-worth of success while being visible, and the good enough to be that bold and proclaim the big mission that I want to do to the world, not in the safe confines of the person that is there. And the context is already one which, like, they know that you are there to help them. Right. So how does all of that land for you?
Yeah. You've distilled it down to exactly what I probably never would have been able to see, really, when I think about it, because I think when we are in true alignment with the things that we know we're good in and that we can have great change, you often miss the stuff that you just uncovered, which is like, why, like, I rarely don't have the words. So I'm getting kind of emotional.
That's okay. It's all of you is welcome here, and whatever comes out is totally fine. So what's coming up for you right now?
I'm just gonna have to process it.
Yeah.
Jeez.
And just to give you peace of mind, you're not the first or the last to shed tears on this podcast, but I acknowledge you for allowing yourself to go there, because this is something that many people who are in this position, like you, making this transition, having amazing skill sets, having very big visions of positivity in the world, this type of block is usually the one that they see coming first, right? So this is your, like, the vehicle of the business is really your evolution towards
Mhm.
transcending
Yeah.
the good enough, probably the deep narratives and paradigms that have come from, earlier in life, that have come from experiences that have shaped you, right?
Yeah. It's
And
true.
even going back to empowerment, right? Like, I'm a big proponent, and I see the pattern a lot, like your mess becomes your message. I would gain that probably if we started digging. There's a reason why he went into empowerment. And the reason why that same theme, being empowered in your communication, in your light, in your bigness, that's coming up for you right now as well. Right.
Yeah.
So
Very
I
true.
share all that to kind of, put a
Yeah.
bow on it, because I know this is heavy, and, that's totally fine. And I acknowledge you for it.
Yeah.
Um, but how does all that resonate with you?
No, that's very true. I feel like I'm all drippy now. So welcome to that was really great. Did not expect that at all. Um, but I love when people have breakthroughs, just like, you gave me. It's kind of like, oh God, it's kind of like holding so tight to something and then just like letting go to have create space in order to actually breathe and see it, right? So, no, that really resonates. And yeah, I know exactly. I have always been attracted to the underdogs in life. You know, I've always been attracted to people, the rescue animal, the rescue dogs, the things that need, that I just know just need a shot, that just need some skills, that just need, nourishment, something, and then they can be on their way. So, but I think that that's probably been me.
That's literally the question I was going to ask you, is who's doing that for you,
Yeah,
right? Like
that's
who's doing that nourishing, that support for
yeah,
Jill?
that's sometimes I metaphorically wear the cape for other people, and I don't do that for myself. Yeah.
Yeah. Because it's easier to search for it outside of yourself than to
Yeah.
really go in and feel all the things and do all the things you need to do it inside
Yeah.
yourself, which
Because it
is
feels
one giant defense, right?
it is. It's a funny, it's slippery though, isn't it? Because it feels so good. That empowers me to empower people and to see them thrive. It's almost it's almost like, God, this is kind of embarrassing to say. It's okay. I'm going to say it anyway. Um, it's almost like that's the payoff for me, that I kind of take those breadcrumbs, like that's enough for me to take their joy and think, well, see, I'm of value. See, I have self-worth because I helped that person, right?
Right.
Versus
And I just
sometimes,
want to pause you right there. I think
yeah,
that's really relevant. Like just look at the wording in that realization. I will take the breadcrumbs.
yeah,
See, look outside of me. I have self-worth. Something outside of me is determining whether or not I have self-worth. The
yeah,
self is completely disconnected from the worth. It is actually all about what scarcity and limitation and lack can trickle down my way so that I can take the breadcrumbs of it and use that to try and fill this hole
yeah,
of self-worth,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
And I say that with full love because I see it all the time. I've gone through and I'm going through my own journey of that aspect as well.
Mhm.
But it's like that right there is the encapsulation of everything that we've just spoken about.
Yes.
All of your results perfectly reflect that attitude. All of your actions perfectly reflect that attitude, right?
Yes.
All of your hesitations and inactions also perfectly reflect that attitude. The hiding, all of that perfectly reflects that attitude,
Yeah,
right?
staying busy, right? Like how
If
yeah,
you spend 12 hours
yeah,
exhausting yourself a day, there's
yeah,
never going to be a time where you really need
yeah,
to honestly look at how good am I? Who am I? What is my self-worth for me, by me?
yeah. No, it's
And to just extrapolate that a bit further, if we zoom out, what is this costing you? Like not solving this problem right now, not diving into and healing and transcending this not good enough part of me. What is that costing you in terms of your own life and the lives of other people?
yeah. Well, it's postponing a lot of goodness. It's robbing myself of wholeness. Um, and right when you think, and I tell this to my children, I tell this to everyone I work with, we are, we're never done, right? We're constantly, I call it perpetual arrival, right? Every moment we have an opportunity, right?
So I'm
To
going to pause you right there again, not because what you're saying isn't relevant. I think you articulate things beautifully and you have good concepts to share. But because when I asked you, what is not transcending the sense of good enough costing you, right? You went down that road. Like, yes, it's caught, like it's robbing me and other people of like goodness. True, but also fairly general. And then you went into like a beautiful concept. So I invite you again just to get really visceral, really specific.
visceral, yeah, that's, let me tell you, you've got me there. Um, well, it's just the only thing I can say is me holding back on embracing my own self-worth and value is it's to me, it's just really basic. It's me not being able to do that to myself is I'm not going to be able to do that to anybody else, really. It's
Right.
almost like it's almost gosh, I don't even know if I want you to air this because this is really like I'm saying stuff that is really kind of crazy truth that I never have thought about, which is the hypocrisy of it. It's almost makes me feel like a fake if I can't do that to myself, right? Like, how can I be a genuine, it's kind of like when you're a good healer, it's because you've gone through things, right? It's you got to go through it to really help understand and hold that space for somebody. Typically, those are the best healers, is the ones who've gone through the fire. And that's kind of the same thing with me, is that I don't think I've allowed myself to look at my fires. I'm coming from a place of, yeah, 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 that kind of burned, and but let's focus on you. Let's work on your fires, right? So, yeah.
So
So maybe I gotta start understanding healing my stuff that I think I thought was kind of done, but I don't think so. Yeah.
okay, so first and foremost, I just want to acknowledge you again for going there,
Yeah.
because that right there is the work,
Yeah.
right? Like,
Yeah.
essentially what has been revealed today, and this is by far more normal than not, is you've been bypassing a lot of your own work so that you can focus on other people's work. And we
Yeah.
all do this to various degrees.
Yeah.
But I think you coming on here, allowing yourself to admit this in this way, um, is the beginning. Like, you can't change something you can't see. I think this is
Yeah.
your process now of
Yes.
seeing,
Yes.
and I think that's huge.
Yeah.
And I think you've begun to open the door of possibility as to what can happen when I do this. Because even when I hear you speak about like, well, what's the cost of this? Where can this go, etc. You're right. Like, that second answer was 10 times more honest and better, and it shows, by the thing that transpired at the end of it. What I want to share with you is even that part is thinking very small, right? Because your vision, ultimately, what I read between the lines is like, this is 30 years of experience put into this wondrous program. So many people need this, but I have all these hangups about, who do I sell this to? How do I not sell this to? Like, an earlier note that you had on here was like, I don't want single parents spending money on me. Why not? Like, single parents are the ones that need the most help to what you can provide, right? So that's just like one example of how everything is being pulled down. It's almost like a magnet continuously causing inertia in the wrong direction. So to me,
Mm.
it's like the thousands of people I could potentially help in different capacity, whatever your business structure ends up looking like, and who you help at what price point, that's secondary. But it's like, my hiding is the hurting continuing in other people's lives, right?
Hiding,
So,
hurting. Yes. Yes.
right, it's
Yes.
like,
Yes.
when I
Yes.
first learned sales, one of the things that really stuck to me, because I owned a brick and mortar weight loss center before I started doing this work, and the thing that really changed the thing for me was like, imagine at the end of your life having to go back to every single person you could have helped, and you have to knock on their door and being like, hey, I just wanted to tell you, you've spent the last X amount of years suffering unnecessarily because I couldn't handle my own stuff and was too doubtful, scared, hesitant, whatever, to actually prompt you, ask you, and get you into the transformation I knew I could have provided for you. Right? That to me is the essence of what's really the cost of what you do because you're so focused on the service.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
again, I
Wow.
know that was a lot. So how does all of that land
Yeah.
for you?
Yeah. That's it's a lot. I think it's spot on. Um, now that you've cracked it open, now I have to actually, like you say, you can't unsee it.
Yeah,
Like I can't like, go just put a blanket over it. Oh, okay, back to business. And I
correct.
think it's really true because I've been wondering, like I never would have I don't allow myself to believe that. Like I don't allow myself to believe that I'm not valuing myself because I just don't believe that. I haven't believed that because how could that be true?
Well, you don't intellectually believe it,
Yeah.
but given the emotions that came up
Yeah.
today, given the
Oh,
actions that
100%.
you've been taken, they
Yeah.
all reflect that subconsciously there's a paradigm that very much believes that.
Well, it's so funny. It's you're no, you're absolutely right. Like my mom who's just an amazing human, she'll sometimes say to me, sorry, my voice. She'll sometimes say to me, um, because she knows that I'm a good soul, and she knows that I'm a hard worker, and she knows that, she's just she knows that I love doing all this stuff. But she also said kind of what you said, which I've kind of, things that our parents tell us. We're kind of like, yeah, 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 yeah. My mom thinks that I'm this glorious person, but she also says things that are very to the point. And she's been saying to me recently in the last few years, she's like, I don't know why. This must be a self-worth issue with you. And it's so insulting, right? Coming from my mom, I'm thinking, self-worth issue? I teach empowerment. Like, it was so irritating that my mom would say that to me. But yet now, if I hadn't talked to you, I didn't, that I couldn't, it was like water on a duck's back. Like I couldn't absorb it because it was so, to me, that was such hypocrisy. Like there's mom, me, like self-worth. I really like myself. I really do. I do have great self-care skills, but do I? Like, so you saying this and me agreeing to do this because I remember, reading your things like, hey, you don't have to do this. This is, it can be very vulnerable. Totally get it. We can do this offline. And I'm thinking, no, that'd be great. I mean, I don't really have anything to hide. I would love, oh my God. So, yeah. So, did not know that that was in the closet. Really did not know. Kind of, you know,
Yeah.
rumblings.
I know it's always funner being on like this side of the the chair, you know what I mean? Like in terms of being the one receiving the coaching or doing the coaching, I know it's always funner
Yeah.
doing the coaching. I've been on
Yeah.
both sides, but I get it. But yeah, I think you're starting to unlock something
Yes.
really relevant here, and I just want to begin to close this off because I
Yes.
know this can start to go into a lot of different directions that they're all
Yes.
relevant, but just outside the scope of what we do here. So if you can just in your own words summarize, what did you come in here thinking was your business issue, and after the conversation, what were your aha moments and realizations?
Hmm. I don't think I'm going to be able to say a lot of it because I'm too emotional. I think I came in wanting to understand business, but I really need to understand me.
Yeah. And that's a beautiful spot to be in because this is where the good things happen. So I'm just gonna kind of close this off and allow you to do your thing. If you want to give us all of your info as far as where people can find you, you're welcome to do that right now. If not, I will put it in the show notes regardless. So
Yeah,
floor is yours for whatever it is you want to do.
yeah, come to the crybaby session. I'm just kidding.
No, this is the empowered vulnerability session. Okay.
Yeah, no, I'm just teasing. My website is lifelaunch.us, and there's a little, that's gives all my information, my cell phone, email, jill@lifelaunch.us. Always open to connect. Love it. I love learning. So yeah, so thank you so much, Dresco, really.
You're very welcome. And thank you for bringing your whole self to this.
Yes.
So I acknowledge you for that. And for everybody else listening, we'll see you on the next one.
Woo! Thank you.